very fortunate to have Alessandro, who's
Good evening, everyone.
Main of the evening, who's going to know better than anybody about Masi Amarone, and we are extremely fortunate for as well his generosity today to be able to get some unique wine that normally we cannot have, and because of Alessandro we're going to test some of them. Is only 6 bottles a year that we have, and Alessandro was kind enough to offer for you guys 1 bottle to test it, one of the 6 that we do have a year. On the top of it, normally our wine structure, wine tasting is 4 wine. Again, tonight is 5 wine. And as you can see, the food is a little bit different than usual, a little bit more meat, because we need to have a little bit more meat. And you have popcorn on your left side for a very specific, wine that is not poured yet. Okay, I'm going to pour it now. I was waiting really the last minute because we're going to start in now, and that's it. Okay, Alessandro, all you.
Before we start, I would like to shout out to Westchester Wine Warehouse. Yesterday, I was at the Wine Spectator consumer event, and Senil got nominated for Retailer of the Year. There were 5 retailers throughout the country. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but he was one of the 5 nominated. And it was incredible to see it there because I didn't expect it. And when I saw his picture on the screen, I was like, wow, this is pretty big. So this one is the most important press that we have in the country that recognize the incredible work that Westchester Wine Warehouse have done throughout the years. So congratulations very much. It was an incredible evening. We are going to go through the Amarone, the Veneto region of the wine today, but we are going to start with something that to me it's extremely dear. It is the Cadel Bosco. Now we all know that bubbles, they are extremely well known in France, and they are well known in Italy in the form of Prosecco. This is not a Prosecco, it's not a champagne. I would say that it's something right between. So the champagne and Prosecco, the difference on champagne and Prosecco, if I'm repetitive, I apologize for those of you that knows the different system of making bubbles, but I like to explain from the beginning. So the Charmant method of making Prosecco, it is a very simple method of creating bubbles for fruit that need to be drunk fresh. So the glera, which is the grape that Prosecco is created with, it's fermented in big vats, and then when the fermentation finishes with the bubble in it, is going to transfer directly to the bottle that is going to go to the commerce. When it comes to champagne, it is the method champenois if it's produced in Champagne, or traditional method if it's produced somewhere else in the world. And the first fermentation happens in the vats like normally is, and then there is a second fermentation that is sparkled in the bottle itself. So meaning that they put the juice in the bottle, not this bottle that is going to go in commerce, adding a little bit of yeast and a little bit of sugar, and it sparkles the second fermentation, and it stays on the lees for a long time. That is called, then of course you freeze the top of the bottle, flip it upside down, freeze the top of the bottle, disgorge it, it's called the disgorgement, and you put the juice in the bottle that is going to go in commerce at that point. Why we say that? Because when it grows outside of Champagne cannot be called champagne, but in Italy, in Lombardy, near Milano, we have an area dedicated, thank you so much. We have an area dedicated, you can drink if you want, huh? Cheers. Salute. To a beautiful night. Thank you all of you for coming. We have an area dedicated to bubbles, which is called Franciacorta. Nothing to do with France. It just means that Franciacorta means that in Italian means that at the time, many years ago, many centuries ago, it was a free zone for taxes. So they call it Franciacorta. It's a region that was born in 1964, for wines, I mean. He was born in 1964, and one of the founders was Maurizio Zanella, which is the founder as well of Ca del Bosco. So it's a fairly young region, dedicated exclusively to bubble and dedicated to the traditional method of making wine. So what is going to happen? After the first fermentation, the wine goes in the bottle. I think your friend is outside, yes. After the first fermentation, the wine goes in the bottle. We add a little bit of sugar, a little bit of yeast, sparkle the second fermentation. We leave it in the bottle with yeast and sugar for about 2 years to 2.5 years. So it gets all the flavor. Flip it upside down, freeze the top, disgorge it, put it in the bottle that you see right now. So it is. Please don't call it champagne because it's not. Please don't call it Prosecco because you would have stabbed my heart with that, because it's not. It is exclusively Franciacorta. Now, talking about Franciacorta, Ca del Bosco per se, besides being one of the founders of Franciacorta, with Berlucchi and Bella Vista, to me, not because it's a wine, not because it's my wine, not because it's my baby, but to me it's the pinnacle of Franciacorta. The attention of details that we dedicate to this wine, it is absolutely insane. Very small production. It's not the production that we have of the bubble coming from France. Perhaps we don't name who, right? We don't say champagne today. It's a very small production of wine. He has one of the largest vats, because when you do a cuvée of several years, you mix the different vintages. So more vats you have, more unstable the wine is going to be from one bottle to another. So we have one of the largest vats. Matter of fact, we build the cellar around the vats. First they put the vats in the cellar, and then they build the cellar around. It's that big, that when I came face to it, I thought it was a wall. And another prerogative of Ca del Bosco is the fact that we're using, when you disgorge the wine, you have that 3-4 seconds that you disgorge the wine and you put the wine in another bottle, in a bottle that is going to go in commerce, and you have those 3-4 seconds where the wine is going to absorb air. We patent this room that we call it the mushroom, which is completely absent of oxygen. So if you drink a bottle of this wine right now, you drink it from 10 years from now, it's absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely the same thing. The blend, it is...
One thing, if I may.
No, you can't.
Thank you. Because we have 5 beautiful ladies tonight. For 2 reasons. Nice to have you. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Mauricio
Zanella.
Mother, who created that in 1964. It was his mother who created that.
His mother?
His mother in 1964.
Well, I don't know the guy, but Maurizio collaborate. I know that he collaborate.
His mother created the vineyard.
Mother, you talking about the cyclist?
No. Mauricio, his mother who created that.
Oh, his mother. Oh, his mother. Sorry, Olivia.
The lady.
Did you say 5 ladies?
He says.
This guy identifies as a lady.
So the 10 ladies over here, right? The 10 of them.
So 6.
So his mother actually had the land that he created. The mother's name is called Anna Maria. And she had the land where Maurizio decided to invest and create the bubbles. But think about, I mean, this guy had a vision. Now, this is the entry level that he has, is the cuvée. And then we have other levels. One is Blanc de Blanc, one is Dosage Zero, one is the Reserve wine. He started to create the Reserve wine in 1975. 1977 is when he commerced the first Reserve wine, and then in 1980 he started to stash the wine aside with the vision of a cognac producer. Today we released the 1980, the oldest bubble released in commerce in the world. Just this month we released the 1980 Anna Maria Clementi of this wine. The vision of this person is absolutely incredible. Another very important prerogative about Franciacorta is the fact that for this exposure that we have and for the climate and for the soil, we don't need much sugar to add on the second fermentation to balance the wine and the acidity. So this wine, it's almost a dosage naturel. The entire region of Franciacorta never goes above 5 grams per liter on sugar. The average of Prosecco, it's about 12 grams per liter. Cadel Bosco never goes above 2 grams. The actual wine that you're drinking tonight is 1.7 grams per liter. It's almost a dosage nature. It's incredible. Do you like the wine? Yeah. On the palate, it's absolutely fantastic. And I would suggest, I mean, you can taste it with anything you want, but if you taste it with a popcorn, it really announces. We've been doing tasting of Cadel Bosco, the different type of Cadel Bosco that we have, with different type of popcorn. It really announces the flavor of the wine. The composition of the wine, it is Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Bianco. Yet we don't have Pinot Meunier. And we just have another indigenous grape. As you know, in Italy, we always find the new kids on the block. It's called Herba Mate, but some producers, they already use the Herba Mate for their Franciacorta, but we don't use it yet. So the only 5 grapes that they're allowed to plant, we use 3 of them. So I think we can go to Veneto, or you guys want to stay in Lombardy a little bit longer?
Veneto sounds nice.
Veneto sounds nice? All right, let's go to Veneto. So most of you probably are familiar with the Boscaini family, the Masi wine. The Masi wine has been in the market for a long, long time. Matter of fact, they just celebrate 250 years. This vineyard just celebrate 250 years. The Boscaini family has been in this business for a long, long time. It's one of the oldest family. As Maurizio Zanella was the founder of the Franciacorta, as Maurizio Zanella was kind of the founder of Franciacorta, the Boscaini families are one of the historic family there. We're talking about Bertani, we're talking about Tommasi, Allegrini, and Masi. Those are the 5 families. Masi is just because it's called Masi because it's one of their vineyard, the original vineyard, Baio de Masi. That's why they call the house Masi, but it's the Boscaini family that owns the company. The wines that you're going to have, just to let you know, the first on the left is the Masi Campofiorin. The one on the top right is the Amarone Costa Sera. That's the way that we are going to taste it. Bottom left, Masi Campofiorin. Top right is going to be the Masi Costa Sera. Top left is going to be the Masi Costa Sera Riserva. And then in the middle, we are going to have the Mazzano, which is one of their single vineyard.
Everybody understand, guys? No. All right, so we're going to go slowly again.
Yes. So bottom left is the Masi Campofiorin. It's the first one.
That is the one that he's talking about.
This is number 1.
Correct.
What's number 2?
Bottom left. Number 2, top right. We are going to taste the Masi Amarone Costa Sera.
This one.
What are we tasting now?
Now the first one. Bottom left. Okay. We can go through while I'm talking about it. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Which one first?
Okay. We are going to go with the Campofiorin. Over here we have just a certain picture. Most of the vineyards are planted Guillaume method, which is the most effective method, but we still have some of the historic plot that they're being planted with the pergola method, which is this sort of canopy. It is a bit more labor consuming than the other method, but you know, we've been doing this for the longest time, so we keep doing it. So what is the important aspect of Masi? It is first and foremost, as every single region in wine, you are going to work with what the soil is going to give you. And to start with, you're going to have a region in Italy, which is nearby Venice, that is the Veneto area. And deep inside, you're going to have the Valpolicella region. This is the region of Valpolicella. Over here, you have the Lake Garda, which is one of the 3 big lakes that we have in Italy, North Italy. Over here, you have Verona, right here, as you can see. And over here, you have Venice. This is the region where we grow the Amarone. Now, you have the Valpolicella area is divided in the 3 different regions, but the main region, the most important, it is the Valpolicella Classico. This is where the Amarone was born, in Negrar, to be exact. This is the production area. The grapes that we use indigenous grape. Right now, the Consorzio Valpolicella allows to use different grapes, but Masi always produced the indigenous grapes that we had in Valpolicella, which are Corvina, Corvinone, which is the same DNA of the grape. Rondinella, Molinara, and Oseleta. Those are the grapes. Now you guys can repeat that. Corvina, Rondinella, and Molinara. Those are the three main grapes. Right now we allowed a certain percentage of Cabernet Merlot, but many of the producers, they strive away from that because it's, you know, in the 90s when the market required a more powerful wine, we were using Merlot to make it rounder and bigger, and Cabernet as well to give a little body. But we kind of lost the identity of the wine, so we went back to the original grapes, indigenous. And also we have so many grapes in Italy, why not using what we have? And then the production technique. It is a very unique system that we have in Valpolicella, which is the appassimento style. What do you see over here? So the Amarone, it's every single wine that we make, you have the cold press and then you start to make wine as fresh as you can. The Valpolicella does something different. They age the grape for about 90 days. They age the grapes for 90 days. So what is going to happen? The grapes, they're going to lose about 40% of the water, concentration in the wine, a lot of sugar in the wine. Yes?
I had always heard that they were allowed to stay on the vines to raisinate, but what you're doing is you're removing them from the vines and allowing them on, like on drying racks?
Correct, correct. So the one that they stay in the wine, they are called late harvest, and normally you're going to make sweet wine with those. The system that we have over here that it's patented in Valpolicella, and right now other region in Italy they're starting to use, it's called the appassimento. So you do the harvest, you put the wine in these crates that you see over here, and you let it sit for about 90 days. Of course, you don't let it sit for 90 days and you forget about, you know, every 2 or 3 days you need to go there and handpick the berries that they go rotten, otherwise they're going to ruin the entire batch. Look, I'll show you. This is what is going to happen to the grapes while the process is going to go on.
The concentration, the alcohol content, when you leave it out there longer, is it stronger?
Of course, I mean, if you leave the grapes like that, there's going to be much more sugar in the grape, and sugar is what transfers to alcohol. When you have the fermentation, the yeast, they're going to eat the sugar and they're going to create the alcohol. That's what is going to happen. So the gradation, the alcoholic gradation of this wine, it's a bit higher. I mean, remember, we are in Italy and we tend to lie. We say that it's about 15%, but probably it's even higher than that. I mean, there are people that are, you know, for robust wine, these are robust wine, but, you know, they have that funkiness of Italian wine that's still that barnyard.
He likes it very robust, 20%.
We'll go to that, we'll go to that. Forgive me, your name, I feel like I need to be in a first name basis, you know. Sokol?
They like it very spicy.
Anil, okay.
Put some curry in the wine.
So, again, we are going back a little bit to what I was saying in the beginning, which is the production area, which is the most important aspect. You know, what Mother Nature gave us, we are going to make it. So it's very important. Everything starts from the vineyard. You can work so much outside the vineyard, but, you know, everything starts with the vineyard. You need to have the main product. Number two, it is the varietals that we use. We use indigenous varietal, and I'm going to get into the Oseleta a little bit later when we use in the black label, when we drink in the black label, and the production technique. Now, there is a different technique, different approach. The Boscaini family are the family that studied this process for the longest time, the appassimento style. They started this project for about 40 years now, and they made the study public. So what is going to happen? In this process, you don't just realize which one is the best vintage, but then when you're going to put the grapes in this fruttaio, they are called fruttaio, those rooms with special ventilation, if Mother Nature has the perfect temperature, the perfect humidity, the perfect acidity in the area, at that point they leave it alone. But throughout the study, they find out if they go below or above a certain threshold, it's going to ruin the process of appassimento. So we have a technique that is going to be applied to this room of special ventilation, and to make sure that it's going to be absolutely perfect. try to let Mother Nature to do this course, but as you know, we have a climate changing, so sometimes in February, in Veneto, we always used to have snow. Right now, there are winters that we don't have snow anymore. So, going back to what we were tasting. So, the first one that I like you to taste, it is a semi-appassimento. This is because not every single day we can drink Amarone. Amarone is an extremely powerful wine, 16% of alcohol in the wine. So they decided to do something that is called semi-appassimento. What is going to happen? Instead of having the 90 days of appassimento, they are going to use only 30% of the grapes for 6 weeks, and they're going to use the appassimento style. So what is going to happen, basically, they have 30% of the grape that they use the appassimento style. They're going to lose the water. And then they have the other 70% that they're going to make the wine like a normal wine, the normal Valpolicella wine. Once that the appassimento is finished, they're going to ferment that wine, and then they're going to put the juice of the fresh juice, they're going to put it on top of that. This is because in Veneto, in the Amarone area, in the Valpolicella, they created something that is called ripasso. Ripasso, it's something that the Boscaieni family, they applied in the past. But then they find out that the ripasso, it was very unstable on the wine, because the ripasso, it is, you make the Amarone. Once that you finish with the Amarone, you take whatever is left, all the pomace, and you're going to put in the fermentation of the fresh juice. But that one was very unstable and funky because you don't know what is the fungus that is going to create from the pomace that was left. So they decided to do this semi-appassimento style. Part of the grape are dry aged like the Amarone. The fresh juice is fermenting. When the 2 batch are finished, they put it together. You can drink it right now. This is a very easy approach into the Valpolicella. So the first wine that it's the classic Valpolicella, then you have the semi-appassimento, and then we're going to step into the Amarone. But this is the wine where, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I cook, I like to drink. And don't we all, right? Don't we all? But, you know, if I'm cooking and pay attention to what I'm doing, I don't want to pay attention to the Amarone and all the finesse that the Amarone has, all the layers of the Amarone has. So a semi-appassimento, it is a fantastic introduction to it. Maybe a little bit goes in the sauce, but most of it is going, it goes in the glass, you know. So by the time that I finish cooking, probably the first bottle is already gone. So characteristic of this specific wine is the fact that Valpolicella lacks on tannins. The wine that they're coming from Valpolicella, they don't have too strong of tannins. So this is a wine, like I said, while you're cooking, when you don't have to eat, it's easy to approach. The tannins normally are the grape that you have in the back of your palate where they require food. And most of the time, as you know, in Italy, the Italian wine are extremely acidic and tannic. So this one, it's an easy approach to it. We have a couple wines from Puglia as well that they are not so tannic, but easy to approach. Again, it is a perfect introduction to what then an Amarone is going to be. I know that all of us, we like the Amarone for the robust palate, for the shoulder, for the aroma that the Amarone has, but also, you know, we can't drink that wine every single day, every single moment of the day. Sometimes we need some easy approach to go to it. And as well, I mean, a bottle of Amarone, you can imagine, since lose 40% of the water, costs 4 times what another bottle of wine can cost. So this one is not going to break your bank. Great aroma. The cherries are very mature in the palate as well. But again, without giving you that punch that sometimes a Sangiovese can give you. So you saw the fermentation process. Then we're going to step into the big brother, the Amarone Costa Sera. So Amarone Costa Sera is the flagship of the wine. This one, it is called Costa Sera because in Costa Sera means, you know, the sunset, because all the original vineyard of Costa Sera, they were facing the slope where the sun was going down. That's why they call it this name. Again, we have Corvina, Rondinella, and Molinara. It's the top right, guys. So over here we have the 2020 vintage. I don't know if you noticed, but they like to put little, we like to have a little ratings of our wine as well as the vintage of the Appassimento style. Right now in Valpolicella we are witnessing a very good times, a very good vintage after vintage. I think, you know, the climate changing is helping a little bit the very high up region. And I love the fact that they never used indigenous, international varietals. They always stick with what they had. But at one point when you start to make wine and you are recognized like these people are recognized, at this point it's not anymore about selling. Of course, we like to sell like everyone else. They're going to give me the wine over here in the United States and I need to sell as much as I can, but it's more the name. They want to have the prestigious name to be out there and be recognized like one of the top wine. Matter of fact, we get incredible high accolades on these wines. Over here you have a little bit more layers into the wine, a little bit more structure. The elevation, we're talking about 350, 400 meters above the sea level. And beside the fact of once that the wine is made, so you have these 90 days of appassimento, you go into the fermentation of the wine. Another thing that is very important, when you're going to go to press the wine, normally when you press the wine, why they always say cold press and soft press? It's because the wine gets shocked when you're going to open the skin. When you do this process of appassimento, you're going to press these raisins, they don't need to be pressed. As soon as they touch each other, they're going to release the juice. It's incredible to witness something like that. And then we're going to pass, we have about 3 years of maturation in barrel. They never use a small barrel because the concentration will be too much, so they're using very big barrel of 5,000 liters. So as you can see, there is a little sticker on the bottle, in the back of the bottle, right here. This one is the denominazione d'origine controllata e garantita. Do you want to repeat that so you remember? So to call it Amarone, you need to obey certain rules. To make it simple, 90 days is the minimum that you can age the grapes. To make it simple, 30 months is the minimum that they can be in barrel, but also 30 months is the minimum that can be in aging before the release, but also is the harvest time. It's how many tons they can get per acres. It's the irrigation that they need to have. So there are many rules. This is because if we find an area that is absolutely prone to produce wines like that, you want to protect that area and make sure that the quality of every producer that is going to be there is going to be very, very high. That's why you protect and you give rules and regulation. Again, we are Italian, we change rules and regulation like I changed my socks, but you know, that's another thing. But also the DOCG in Amarone, in Valpolicella, is different than the DOCG in Chianti, in Brunello di Montalcino. We have the denominazione d'origine controllata is the first classification. For instance, in Prosecco, you have the area, the vast area of Veneto, which is denominazione di origine controllata. Then if you want to go a little deeper into Prosecco, you have the Valdobbiadene area, which is denominazione di origine controllata and garantita. Now, if you make the Amarone outside this area, you can call it Amarone, but you cannot call it DOCG, and you cannot call it Classico. This is the only area that it grows the Classico. So, like for Prosecco, in Veneto, you can call it Prosecco DOC, but then if you go into the Valdobbiadene, you need to obey the strict rules of that area, and you can get the denomination of DOCG. But, to go to your point that you were saying before, all the producers of Amarone that obey the rules they can have the DOCG denomination. There are a lot of producers there, but again, I don't know if you have I have a little backyard in my house. So I realized that by experience, it's where you know what grows the best. It took me years before I find out what plants they grow, plants that they're not. People that have been in that area for so many years, they know. And agronomists that go in the vineyards, they know which one are the best plot. So to me, especially in Italy, it is extremely important to have an origin of the wines and experience and live in the soil. I was just in Oregon recently with an Oregon producer. It's so fascinating the way that they treat the land. And I was like, I mean, you have a couple filari that they don't belong over here. Why do you have a, Gewürztraminer? It was like, I don't know, I found it there, this plot is not good for me, so I planted something else. They know that that plot is not going to produce good wine, so they're not going to use it. And they're going to play with it. Same thing in Italy. Same thing everywhere in the world. When you gain the experience from the soil, at that point you know what gives you the best wine. And it's very fascinating, guys, because so Italy, especially this area, has been covered by the glacier for the longest time. Then they melted, and then they froze again, then they melted and they froze again. There is so much minerality to the point that if you go there in October when they did the harvest already and you see the plot of land, by meters they have different colors. One is yellow, one is red, one is gray. This is the soil. And if you don't have that, you can't make good wines. So we are going to the next wine, next in line, which is the top left is the Riserva. What is a Riserva wine? Riserva by denomination, it's the reserve. It's what you treasure most. Again, when you go to the denominazione di origine controllata and garantita, they apply rules. So normally for the Riserva, you need to age the wine 12 extra months. It doesn't matter if you do in barrel and bottle, but you need to age it 12 extra months. And it is the top left, right? Top left? Yes. But the Riserva wine, you call it Riserva because you know which one are the best plot where you can get the wine. Again, if you work the land every single day, you know after many years which one is the best plot that is going to get the wine. And that one is what you're going to call Riserva. And perhaps on the harvest that you're going to do, to the point that I was telling you before, instead of creating, a vine can create like 15 clusters, but instead of creating 15 clusters, if you grow just 5 of them, all those clusters, all those 5, they're going to get all the nutrients that the 15th, so they're not spread out, but they're very much concentrated. The very interesting prerogative on this wine, and that's the reason why it has a black label, it is because there is an addition of a fourth grape called Oseleta. The fourth grape called Oseleta, I could hold a cluster of Oseleta in my hand. The berries are tiny to start with. They are very, very small. When you do the appassimento with those berries, they became capers, the size of a caper. So think about the concentration that they are going to have. The Oseleta is going to give definitely much more layers into the wine. There is a very small percentage of Oseleta in it. Now on the Masi, just to let you know, because we produce other wine with white labels, with the labels like this color, and labels that are black. When you see a Masi with a black label, means that there is an Oseleta grape inside. Oseleta grape, it's a grape that it was almost lost completely. I don't know if you're aware, but in Italy we have about 2,000 varietals of grapes. It is insane. And I don't even know all of them. I probably know even half of them. But Oseleta is one of those grapes that was almost extinct, and then somebody found it again and nursed it again, and grow to be an indigenous grape over here.
How was it extinct? I'm curious.
They just don't plant it anymore. So when you go to a plot that it's like, vines, I mean, they suffer the phylloxera, these vines over here. But when you go to a field and they have Nebbiolo, I went to some producer and they say, oh, this whole land is Nebbiolo, but there is this line of vines, it's Cabernet. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, they produce great wine. Why am I going to take them off and plant it again? So what is going to happen if throughout the years, especially in the 60s, wine was a commodity? Was much more profitable to plant tomatoes or something else. So what people did, they take off the grapes, they take off the wine, and they started to plant something else. In 1974, there was this guy that studied wines all his life. He went to an abandoned monastery and found vines over there, and he found this vine that it was, right now we know that it's a Pignolo, but he found these vines that he didn't recognize the foliage. So he started to plant, he did the DNA of the vine, and they find out that it was a wine that was, we had traced from the 1300 of this Pignolo. So that's how you find grapes. In Italy, it is so prone to that. If you go to Sicily, there is this producer called Palari. He has, the area of Palari is the smallest region that produce wine, the smallest DOC that produce wine. It's called Faro. 5 producers there. He's the largest, meaning that he has, you know, probably the land that he has is smaller than the store. And he has one plot of land that produces this wine called Palari, and it's his wine, its own wine. He doesn't know what the grape is. They call it a francesa. A francesa in dialect, it means the French one. So probably that plant, yeah, it's insane. But you know, it's like an hectare of land. He makes 225 liters of that wine. He's not going to spend 35,000 euros to find out what the grape is. It's also a bit romantic that he call it a francesa. So in the plot of land that you have, at time you're going to find these vines that they act differently. One of the most important producers of Barolo, Luciano Sandrone, one time I was walking through his vineyards and he noticed that one of the plants that he thought it was Nebbiolo, it was starting to act differently than all the others. So what he did, he took that plant out, he planted another Nebbiolo there, but then he started to see what the plant was going to be. So after 20 years, he found out that it's another clone of Nebbiolo. But maybe it wasn't that, maybe it was something different. That's how, you know, you don't know about this Oseleta wine, and then all of a sudden, you know, producers are like, you know what, maybe it's not worth it to do it, but let's do it again. Also, in the 60s, we were planting something else, the wine. But in the 90s, wine started to be profitable. So would you like to plant a grape which is going to give you 50 liters, or you plant something that is this big, is going to give you 5 liters? Of course, you don't plant that anymore because you want to make more wine, you want to make more money. Once that you reach a certain level, like these people, at that point they're going to introduce again the Oseleta to introduce something different in the market. There is one producer that I know. What he does the press, it's a Sangiovese producer. So he does the press of the wine, but then take the wine out and leaves the most there. And the wine is white, the Sangiovese is white. This wine is white. So when you're going to introduce the skin to the wine, it's going to give the color, but also it's going to give a lot of other aspects. Because if you think about it, that's where it comes, all the acidity comes from. All the bitterness, the tannins, everything comes from that. Matter of fact, the Pinot Grigio, when you're going to press the Pinot Grigio, why the Pinot Grigio is not vinified? By the way, this one, all these wines, they are under the umbrella of the Marzotto family, which they own as well, Santa Margherita. So I can talk about a little bit about Santa Margherita as well. Santa Margherita was the first Pinot Grigio that was vinified white. Why? Because if you leave the wine in contact with the skin, it's going to extract not just the acidity from the skin. I don't want to get too technical in chemistry, but it's not going to extract just that, but it also is going to extract the color. So the actual Pinot Grigio grape is not white. It is an orange color. If you leave the skin contact with the Pinot Grigio, it's going to be what we call a ramato, and it looks like a rosé wine. It looks like bad rosé wine. You know, when the rosé wine is like 4 or 5 years old and get the amber color, they are a substitute of red wines. So if you leave the skin contact for less time, that's what is going to happen. And then there are other systems of doing. When you put in the barrel with porous wine, the barrel they're going to absorb some of the color. That's how you get that orangey color. Orange wine are very popular right now. I think I'm fascinated by. I struggle because we lose a little bit of identity with orange wine. It seems like they all taste the same. So the oscillator basically what it's going to give is going to give that ratio between what the juice is going to be with versus the skin. So again, you saw the appassimento style. The grapes, they are about this big when you make it, and then when you're going to lose about 30-40% of the water, they become much, much smaller. Think about this grape that it's to start with, it's very small. It looks like a cranberry, honestly. So we are going back a little bit to farming. There we go. We are going back a little bit to farming. We were saying that throughout the years you find out where the tomatoes they grow best, right? So throughout the years, if you're a farmer and you see that you have a plot of land, maybe a hill, that's why the hills are so famous in Bordeaux and Barolo, because you have the cru, they name it by the name. When you go back to farming, you'll find out that that hill per se, where you have 5 acres of land, it produces wine that is so much better than the other. So you're like, okay, let's put it on the Riserva wine, but it's almost sacrilegious to blend the wine and put it in the Riserva. So what are you going to do? A single vineyard wine. What is called single vineyard, because you know that that's the perfect storm. So we have 2 single vineyard in the Masi property. One is near the Negrar over here, which is called Mazzano, and one is near over here, which is San Ambrogio, which is where the house is, and it's called Campolongo di Torbe. Those are 2 single vineyards that they don't even bring the grapes to the fruttaio. The fruttaio is that room where they're going to dry age. They build fruttai right on the vineyard because they want to source the wine and they do everything over there. It's absolutely the perfect storm. Now, on the Amarone, I personally think that every single Amarone has a story to say, has something so deep to say, because the wine is so structured. There are so many layers in the wine. Yes, we love California Cab, but also I think if you want to have a little bit more funkiness, you need to strive to Italy or France, perhaps, for certain wine, like Châteauneuf du Pape, for instance. They are bold wine, but they're very structured in the wine. You find much more acidity, you find much more funkiness into the wine. Layers that they're going to translate, when they age, they're going to translate and integrate into the wine itself. And they are fantastic. So on the single vineyard, yet it's a wine, I choose this wine today and not the other one, because the other one is honestly very young to taste in this stage. So this one is a 2016, which is the current vintage. We just switched the vintage from 2015 to 2016, and it's a just released wine. It's more approachable vineyard because it has different plot and different exposure. It's a little bit more approachable on a young age. Now, one thing that I can tell you, I'm normally not driven by vintages, because I personally believe that great wine producers, every single year they make fantastic wine. But the 2016, everybody says that, this is the vintage of the century, and they say 10 times over 20 years, Every other year we have a vintage of the century, but I can assure you, everything coming from 2016 is going to be an amazing wine. Amazing wine. Not just in Piedmont, not just in Veneto, but also in Piemonte. Also, I don't know about outside Italy, but Brunello, Barolo, 2016 has been the perfect vintage for us. And this one, of course, we name the bottles that we make, each vintage. Is not made in every single vintage. It's made only in spectacular vintages.
And that is the one that we do have only 5 bottles. For the year with 6, for the year is 6, we have only 5. That's it.
250 years ago, when they were making farming, it's not that they were making wine and they bottle and they sell it. they were making wine for the kings, and then little by little they developed into a business. And the Mazzano, it has the same characteristic, but it's so tight. It's so tight. And another thing that I can tell you guys before we wrap it up, when you have this type of wine, don't decant them unless you have at least 10 hours, at least 10, 12 hours. If you want to have dinner with these wines, decant them the night before, or just open it and drink it. This is why wine is an alive element. So what is going to happen? As soon as you pop this bottle open, and consider this one, it's already stayed in this bottle for 10 years. So the wine, it's like, it's been in a small room for 10 years. As soon as you pop the cork, what is it going to do? It's going to go all over the place. But then it's going to hide again. After half an hour that you open this wine, it's going to hide again. And then it takes hours to develop all the characteristics. A beautiful thing would be to drink a little sip every 20, 30 minutes and see how the wine develops. But who has 12 hours to see how it goes? Now, guys, I hope you enjoy. I know that it's a lot of information in 55 minutes, but I hope you enjoy the wine. I hope you enjoy the explanation. You know now what Amarone is about, but like every single thing in life, there is Amarone and there is Amarone. There is wool and there is wool. There is cashmere and cashmere. There are cars and cars. So a Fiat 500 cannot be a Ferrari.
I think we need to start all over again.
Absolutely, I agree. Do you have it in the glass?
We're going to test all the bottle here.
Bravo, Alessandro.
At what temperature, like if you have a wine cooler, what temperature would you store this?
I put my wine half an hour before the red, half an hour before I drink them. I put it in the fridge. In the fridge.
But I can choose the temperature.
I mean, you can choose. I mean, it's supposed to be 18
Celsius.
18 Celsius, but 18 Celsius for me is too cold. I like it a little bit warmer. The white, I put it in the fridge, and when I'm ready to drink, I pull it out half an hour before because I don't like it too cold. So I like the white on the cold side, but maybe 16, 17. I like the red around the 20 Celsius. That's what I like my wine. Also because the wine, when you started to drink it cold, it's a little tight, and then while you drink it, the wine gets warmer, opens up. It's beautiful. I've been working in this industry for a long time, and it still fascinates me how it's an alive element, honestly. Because it's beautiful. When you cold the wine, it's so tight, and then all of a sudden you let it breathe a little bit, warm up a little bit, and the wine warms up with you. So, and let me ask you something. What do you think about this guy right here? You loved it? So, in a few weeks, we are going to have a class strictly about this guy right here. We are going to taste the Reserva wine, we are going to taste the Blanc de Blanc, and he makes still wine as well. He makes 100% Chardonnay and a Bordeaux blend. They are absolutely outstanding, guys. 3 more weeks, and we're going to taste this one. And please,
sorry, you do have each individual of you do have your gift certificate for $100. Please, you can use the wine of tonight for us. It's extremely important to support Alessandro or whoever it is every single week to get you the best possible to test absolutely incredible wine. So I know everybody would like to have a bottle of that. We're going to get more in the next week. The next testing will be, guys, 2 seconds. Next testing is next Friday. We do the blind testing, Italy against Spain. Right? So you don't know what.
Do we have to be
exactly? Like,
I'm not going to be here, guys. I'm so sorry. I know, Paolo. I know. I have an extra case that I can share. He's going to get it, yes.
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the wine. I hope you enjoy the culture of wine in Italy.
The class was excellent. It was very informative. I felt like I learned a lot this evening regarding a lot of the Italian wines and answered a lot of my questions about Amarone.
As always, these tastings are wonderful, and we had an opportunity to taste a lot of very nice wines this evening.
We thought the class was very informative, educational.
We definitely could drink more.
Yeah, we're definitely going to drink more. It's good quality.
It was so good.
It was good. It's delicious. Yeah.
We always enjoy Olivier and Alessandro when he visits.
Yeah.
He brings some good stuff.